All right, welcome everyone to today's episode of Is It Prophecy here on Israel National Radio, Arut Sheva, and the show is syndicated as the Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Lewis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. And you can also find episodes of this program on JApp. That's a Jewish application that has shiurim for big rabbis, as well as episodes of this program. You can find JApp through iTunes or Google Play Stores, or from the website www.j-app.me. We have a very special program this particular afternoon on the line right now from the owner and operator of 613 Media Group, Drora Bat-Melech. Drora, how you doing out there?
Doing great, thank God.
It's great to have you on, and let's talk about some politics. Let's get into it. I understand that a lot of people think that really the only solution with Israel and the Palestinians is the one-state solution. Tell us your thoughts, if that's what you agree with, and why that is.
Well, my thoughts are for all kinds of reasons. If you look into the strategic parts, if you look into functionality, if you look into the Arabs themselves' attitudes towards what they want to have comprising Israel, or to be more accurate, Palestine, you cannot in any way think about the possibility of having a second state inside the territory that we call Israel, including beyond the 1967, including Judea and Samaria. And if we get into particular reasons, we have to look into, one is, how can you comprise a state next to us when the little bit that we tried with Gaza, when we disengaged and let them have their own possibility to have independence and self-ruling and dominion over the territory, we got basically the founding of a terror state with rockets, with Hamas being engaged in, terror from there. We never got really peaceful type of engagement with our country. So the whole experiment of the Oslo Accords, which we can see being enacted in Gaza, was a total failure. How can we, in our right mind, do another experimental thing with much longer borders, with strategically disadvantage to us, because we know that the whole entire Judea and Samaria area is on a hilltop. You're talking about having, and if anybody just sits on any, like Ariel or any of the cities up on top, you literally can look at Israeli, buildings and just have fun sharpshooting them. I mean, how can you in any way feel comfortable to give an entire country to be a hostage, including our airport, including vital strategic areas, to people that come out and say it clearly? I mean, there's no masking, okay? They say it in Arabic. Of course, they say something different in English and Hebrew. But my background is my parents are from Iraq. So my first language to understand is Arabic. My second is Hebrew, and my third is English. So when I hear, broadcasts from Palestine News or from Al Jazeera, I can hear it in the original. And what they say is very clear. There's two plans. There's the Give It Today plan by Hamas, which means that, we want everything, all the borders, everything including Haifa, Lod, and Jaffa, given to us to create the land of Palestine. That's called the immediate goal. Then you have the plan with, Abu Mazen, which is the stages plan. You're saying, okay, first stage, we're going to do up to 1967 borders. We're going to create a land. And then we're going to have, the second stage will be, okay, we got this part, we can go for the next part. these plans are detrimental to our survival, and feeling or thinking that those are a solution, a vital solution to our safety is absurd.
Now, since, as you're talking about, it's such an absurd idea, then why would people want the two-state solution?
That is a very, very good question. A lot of people, I was reading this morning about show people, a lot of different people are hopping into the bandwagon of the, One Voice, and other organizations are calling. And I'm reading what they say, and it's really interesting to read they write in their website, "The land is ours." A campaign to encourage young Palestinians to participate in nonviolent resistance to end occupation, realize the two-state solution, and establish an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 lines, with East Jerusalem as its capital. I have a bit of a problem with the whole concept and the whole idea that people forget about our heritage and our past. I like a lot to read Eli Hertz's book. Eli Hertz wrote a little book about Jerusalem, about the situation that was in Israel. His book is called "This Land is My Land, A Mandate for Palestine, the Legal Aspects of Jewish Rights." And in it, it really, really asks a very valid question. And I have to quote this because it's just so prevalent. Ever ask yourself why during the 30-year period between 1917 and 1947, thousands of Jews throughout the world woke up one morning and decided to leave their homes and go to Palestine? The majority did this because they heard that a future national home for the Jewish people was being established in Palestine on the basis of the League of Nations obligation under the Mandate for Palestine document. Now, what is that? The Mandate for Palestine was not a naive vision briefly embraced by the international community. 51 member counties, the entire League of Nations, unanimously declared on July 24, 1922, that they are basically recognizing the historical connection between the Jewish people and Palestine and establishing the national home in this particular area. So when you have this particular announcement by 51 nations, declaring that this area belongs basically to the Jewish home, and their 5th chapter of this particular thing establishes very clearly that you cannot establish another state in this particular area. And later on, there is, acknowledgement by U.S. Congress, by the U.S. Senate, and establishing this as a congressional law, which is still valid till today. And you do this, and then you come back and say, sorry guys, we now think we should have another Arab state besides the 22 other states that were established. Now, the key point here is at that particular moment when these people sat down and made that decision, they also sat down and established 4 mandates for the Arabs of the region. Jordan, which was the main area, but they also established Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. 4 lands. There were supposed to be areas to give political sovereign rights for all Arabs of the region. Now, it was not some sort of a thought that was just, they understood the historical connection of the Jews to this particular area. They did not deny the Arabs of their rights, but they just said, you have rights also, and we're going to develop those rights in the 4 mandates on the eastern side. And they established clearly borders from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. Those borders are clear. Those borders are supposed to be the borders of the Jewish state. And any idea to have another state established in the midst of it is absurd. Now, everybody comes up at this moment and jumps and says, whoa, we already have it. Things happen. Jordan got into... I see it differently, the way history really played out since that decision, okay? I see history as establishing, we got those lands allocated to the Jewish land. When 1948 came along, basically during the war, you had Jordan occupy lands that were allocated to the Jewish state. Not the other way around or any other way. There was no issue of Nakba. Each nation, and as we say in Hebrew, le'om, each nation, national entity, was given a certain area to establish their sovereign political rights. The Jewish nation was given the land of Israel. And the Arabs of the area were given 3 choices. And it's actually, if you look at the congressional debates about this decision making, it's amazing to see what people said. But it was very clear. They said they're establishing a state for the Jewish people to have sovereign rights. They're not denying any other entities or groups, national groups that live already in there, but they have to be under the law and dominion, and they use the word dominion, of the Jewish state. What does that mean? It means clearly one thing, that the Jews were supposed to have the law and sovereignty of the area, and any other minorities living in that area should agree with that dominion, live under the premises of that dominion, live peacefully. And it says clearly, it gives 3 choices. Either they live peacefully, and that's fine, which means they get their religious, they get their what we call citizenry rights. In Hebrew, it's toshavut, which means that you can settle, have rights to citizen rights. Everything is fine. But the sovereign legal rights were for the Jewish homeland. On the other side, they were supposed to be, if they do not agree, they said they could, for a just value, sell their land. This is what it says in the congressional. It's just amazing to see this. Sell their land for a just price and then move to the eastern mandates that were established for them, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq. If they do not agree, to this just valuation for their properties and move, then they should be taken out. And that means if they do not agree in a violent way. This was written in the negotiation to this particular law that was established and agreed to. To come now and say, sorry guys, there's a new situation. We have Arabs here. Yes, they're not agreeing to our existence. They're violently going against the Jewish law. The Jewish side, we have always tried to be, to find some sort of a solution, a peaceful solution. The disengagement was a very, very, very hard thing for many people to go through, but it was done. And I must say, it was a very, kind of a failure, to say it in a very modest way, because we did not achieve the peaceful coexistence. The whole idea was to do a trial. Look at this. Here, we're giving a whole area. There was a flourishing area to establish some sort of an independent entity to coexist with us. And we did not get that. Now, the whole idea to establish another entity when the players haven't changed, not at all. Not only that, Abu Mazen is in a unity government with Hamas. Now, Hamas is a terror organization, and I don't care who says otherwise. They haven't, decided to work like Mother Teresa yet, and they're not visiting, special, places to take care of, people that are injured. The truth is, we see it very clearly. We saw it with what happened to the 3 boys from Gush Etzion, where I live. They are a terror organization, and they haven't retreated from that particular type of mentality for years. The only solution that can be established in Israel right now is to basically have dominion and the Israeli law all the way to the Jordan River and establish a fair, system that will be sort of a tribal system that will give the areas where you have A and B, what we call A and B, sort of an ability to not self-govern, but have centers of governmental centers where they can, vote for, and then have some sort of an ability for some independence. But to have any kind of full independent state, when we see what's happening right now with what I call Daesh, and in English everybody calls ISIS, is ludicrous. There's extremist forces getting into the whole entire region and influencing towards extremism, Muslim extremism. And any idea to establish a state that is already being mostly governed by extreme Hamas, but both Hamas and Abu Mazen are losing their energy in this, I would say, race for government, because more extremist forces are getting in. We know that ISIS is trying to get into Jordan full force. They're already in Iraq in a very strong presence, Syria for sure. Anybody that closes their eyes and looks at this and says, no, they're wonderful people, they're going to bring us candy and gifts for Rosh Hashanah. I mean, come on. You have to be realistic. We're living in a environment that is changing and developing, and to ignore ISIS and to say that the Judean Samaria Arabs are not influenced. I mean, they're finding, I happen to work with people that are a little bit, they're Druze. Some of the people in our, I work with, a special group that, trying to establish some sort of an idea that would be working for Jews, non-Jews, minorities. They're all very Zionist, and we have a lot of Druze, and they're telling me it's like, the ISIS forces are getting in full force into Judea and Samaria, and there's cells being discovered. This is to say that you can establish a second state and just to kind of go blindly and not acknowledge the forces that are influencing this turmoil in the Middle East is absurd.
Again, this is a Prophecy on Israel National Radio, Ruth Sheva. The show is syndicated as the Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Lewis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. Dror, I want you to talk a bit about the American influence on the one-state solution, or two-state solution, I should say, because a lot of presidents in recent time have tried to push for this. Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, President Obama, obviously. What is their motivation, and talk about their influence on our region?
It's a very good question, Ari. I'm really glad you brought it up, because what's happening here is another issue that every potential voter has to look at. You have to look at what's going on. As a voter, you look at the situation that we have right now, and you're saying, okay, there is all kinds of forces influencing the situation. And one of the forces is obviously the United States. And Obama has never, and then can be looked at from the right or the left side of government entities, that he never supported Israel in the traditional way. I mean, he really was very clearly supporting Islam and supporting the idea that he thinks that there should be a two-state plan. He never denied that. So putting that aside and realizing that that's one of the components that he's going for, his support, and I would not limit the word to support, because my feeling that there's actually an American interfering with our election, which I don't really like, and it bothers me, as many people have dual citizenship in Israel, and I think anybody in his right mind that see the 2015 organization and even the premise that the whole group of people that supported Obama during his election campaign coming here to Israel to support the left on their election campaign is very problematic, to say the least. It's problematic in several aspects. If you look at the aspect that we have here, the left and right, and suddenly somebody from the outside, a foreign nation. I mean, we're not the 51 state of America. I mean, sorry, some people think that, but we're not. We're an independent sovereign state with prime minister, a very capable one, and a very able one to say what he wants to say, and he should be able to say because he was elected by the people of the state. To come here and represent the thought, which is promoted by President Obama, that we should have a two-state plan, is absurd. It's an interference in our election, and it should not be. And it's coming from several organizations supposedly independent, if it's the One Voice or the V15, or even through the support that people get to the One Israel Fund. All those different organizations are being funded through foreign money, and that's a clear problem, and I think it shouldn't happen.